Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining. And Julianne, thanks for inviting me to present today and talk to everyone about our CNT pilot grants for this year. So the pilot grants, to apply for these grants, it's a two-step process. And the first step is to submit this preliminary application, which is basically a letter of intent. Then from this, there's a selection from these letters of intent or from these preliminary applications. They get reviewed, and then a subset is selected and invited to move forward and submit a full proposal. So what I plan on doing for the next few minutes is just highlighting a few things about the preliminary applications or the letters of intent that are due in a few weeks. And then what I'm going to do is switch over to the dashboard and kind of just show what it looks like to go through and enter information on the dashboard for this application. So these instructions are found on the dashboard. So if I switch over my screen just for a second here, if you go to the CTR website, if you go under funding opportunities, you can see all the different open funding opportunities that are available. So here's the Clinical and Translational Research Grant Pilot. If you click on this button, it will download the instructions, and that's kind of the document that I'm working off of right now, which I'm going to go through. And then in a few minutes, we'll come back to here and I'll walk through what it's like to submit this preliminary application. So here are the instructions. There's a lot of detail in these instructions, so I encourage you to download and read these. Provide some information about the background, what the CTR program is all about, and the purpose of these specific applications. Just a few important things to point out from this document. These preliminary applications, which again, this is the first step for submitting the grants for the CNT pilots. The preliminary applications are due Monday, January 20th at 5 p.m. and they're submitted through the dashboard. And again, I'll show you what that looks like shortly. And then again, these are reviewed by a panel, and a subset of these applications will be invited to then submit a full proposal, and these full proposals are due in May. There's two types of CNT pilots. There's a traditional CNT pilot, and then there's a community engaged pilot. And again, this document provides some information just about the differences between those two types of pilots. Anyone who is eligible to apply for an NIH type of grant who has an independent appointment would be eligible from one of our partner institutes here. We really encourage everyone to consult with the cores, the ACCEL cores or the CTR cores. There's three different cores. Many of you probably know the PDC core, the Professional Development Core. There's also the BIRD core, which is Biostatistics, Epidemiology, and Research Design. And then lastly, there's the Community Engagement and Outreach core. So we really encourage everyone who is invited to submit a full proposal to reach out to these core directors and make appointments to have consultation with each of the cores. Again, this is for the full proposal, so you don't have to do this for the preliminary application, but I just wanted to put on your radar so that you're aware, if you're selected to submit a full application, that this is on your radar to make sure that you're reaching out to the cores to work with them for consultation for the full proposal. In terms of important deadlines, and what the timeline looks like. Again, the due date for these letter of intent or the preliminary application is January 20th at 5 p.m. Invitations for full proposals will be sent out mid-February. And then you'll have about 3 full months to work on those applications. The applications are reviewed by 3 scientific reviewers and then also by representatives from each of the cores. And we hold a study section in the summer to review the applications. So notifications will be sent out in mid-August, and then just-in-time information, if selected for funding, is due September 30th. So I'll work with Julianne and we'll hold another one of these calls either through Jin or separately with the group who gets selected for the full applications, just to go through additional instructions for those later. In terms of these letters of intent or these preliminary applications, one of the first things that you really need to do is, if you haven't done so already, is go to the CTR website and create a profile. So make an account and create a profile. And then if you haven't made an ORCID account yet, that would be the next step. And then what you'll have to do is link your ACCEL account and profile to your ORCID account. This is a requirement for the CTR grants and for being able to submit pilot grants. So if you don't have this step completed, the application will be administratively withdrawn. So if you haven't done so already, please go to the ACCEL website to create an account and a profile. Also create an ORCID account and then link those two together. In terms of this preliminary application and the letter of intent, I'll go through some of these details of what's required to enter on the dashboard in just a few minutes. But in terms of documentation, the main things that you need to have ready to upload into the dashboard are your biosketch as the PI. If you are a junior investigator, if you've never had NIH funding before as a K or an R level grant, then you also need to identify a mentor. You'll need a letter of support from your mentor as well as their biosketch. So you'll need biosketches from yourself and your mentor if applicable. And you can identify collaborators or consultants or other community partners, but at this stage, it's optional to include their biosketch. Then in terms of additional files that you'll need to have, your one-page letter of intent or proposal. So this is a summary that has to be pretty concise because it's one page that really outlines, your aims, your approach, why this is important. So identifying the research question, what are your hypotheses? You can use one single diagram as a schematic if that's helpful, but it's not required. But in this page, you really just have to outline what the major goals are, the purpose of the grant and the proposal, the key background literature, the approaches you're going to use, and then if there's any, expected outcomes or pitfalls that you might come across. So that's a one single page file that you'll have to upload. You also have to include a list of references. There's no page limit for this. However, it's important to note that you can't include links or hot links to the references. This is not acceptable. And then finally, we talked about the letters of support. It's required for a mentor. But finally, the last document is this plan for enhancing diverse perspectives. So you can click either of these links here to take you to the NIH pages for the descriptions and some examples of how to write this. That this is something new now moving forward that CTR is requiring for their pilot grants. So again, in terms of documentation, you need your proposal summary, your biosketch. If you have a mentor, you need their biosketch and a letter of support. And then you need the plan for enhancing diverse perspectives. So I'm going to switch over and just show you what it looks like if I want to submit a preliminary application. So it provides a little bit of background up here at the top. What you'll do is you'll enter in the title of your project. You can identify whether this is going to be a community engaged project or not. If it involves human subjects or vertebrate animals, you just check yes or no. Then here for keywords, you're going to look at this list of keywords and check any of the information here that your project might be related to. You can then save and continue and it'll take you to the next page. Here it's going to ask you your investigator status and career stage. So again, if you don't have an NIHK or R award or equivalent, you would be considered a junior investigator or new investigator. Again, these PIs will need a mentor, a letter of support from the mentor, as well as a bio sketch. So you would just check here, yes or no. And then career stage, again, you can read through these definitions and select career stage and then hit save and continue. Here's where you're going to identify any additional team members. So if this is an MPI project and I click yes, you can see that this button to add new PI will appear. And so I can add in who the other PIs are going to be for this project. If I click no, that will go away. And then I can just add new team member. So if you click on this, Julianne, I was testing this morning and put you in. So you can start typing someone's name and they should come up in the, if they're a registered Excel user, they should come up. So let's see, Rob, if I can find you. So here is Rob's name. I could click his name and then say he's my mentor for this project. I'm able to upload the bio sketch here, and then I can save that. So it's wanting me to select to upload a bio sketch. So if we just say, Rob, you're going to be a community partner, we'll save. Okay, so then again, the bio sketches are not required for collaborators or community partners. So you can list anyone else on the scientific team here or the mentor, but just remember that you need to upload a document for the mentor. So then we can save and continue. And then here's where you're going to, upload your other documents. So here is your proposal summary. This is my son typing his name over and over again, but you can just simply like delete this, or there would be a button to upload to click to upload a file. So you can then upload your files for each of these. And then if you have additional files, again, it's not required that you have bio sketches from your collaborators or community partners, but if you wanted to upload those, you could. So if I then hit save and continue and have all of those documents there, you can see that it does a little summary here based off of the information that you've entered. So I have the documents in and they look good for the project summary, the investigator, but for team members, it's telling me that because I selected that I was a junior investigator, that I need a mentor and I need to upload that documentation. So if you'll notice, it won't allow me to submit the proposal because I don't have the required documentation here within the dashboard. So this just gives you an idea of what this portal looks like and what you'll see as you're going through and entering information for this preliminary application or this letter of support. So I'm going to stop there so that I can take any questions from anyone.